Welcome to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. I'm your host, Fabian motherfucking Ojeda, and I don't know shit, but that's okay. All right, let's get this shit started. Thank you everybody for listening to the Ignorance is Strength podcast. Hope you all enjoyed episode number 47 with our returning and recurring guests. We're now calling them Red Roy and Astro Monica. Always a lot of fun with those two. I'm definitely going to have them back. You know, they were on the singles panel, and so we might get a new singles panel with them hosting. But we're back with a brand new guest today, and she's a real interesting one. You know, she's a musician, a pageant queen, and she's got a background that I'm really looking forward to learning more about. Welcome to the show, Nini Ndongo Macias. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. You're over in Utah, so I know you mentioned, you know, while we were off the record here that it's snowing over there. How are you adapting to that? Or you're kind of used to it, right?
I'm used to it. I'm from Utah. I was born and raised here, but it's like I just never get used to the snow. I'm used to it, but I'm not used to it. I just hate it.
I think it's one of those things that you know, people like us in Southern California, we're all like, we romanticize it, like, oh, the snow, right? But once you actually live in it, you're like, yeah, it's not that. It's not all that.
People want what they can't have.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned, you know, growing up in Utah, and I think that's really interesting because I know we'll get deeper into it, but you know, and people, when they look at the graphic that I put up before the podcast, they're gonna be like, are you sure she's from Utah? You know, because you don't usually think of Utah as a very like diverse state. You know, I mean, demographically, I think they're like almost like 85% and almost 90% maybe white people. You know, I think it's over 60 something percent you know, Mormon. And so I mean, I'm really interested to see how, you know, you ended up in Utah.
Yeah, it's so funny because the last stereotype is very much like that it's white landers or whatever. But it's funny because like when my family came here, they were like, we were the only like colored, like one of the only colored people here. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people get scared of that because they're just like, but it's white. So you're going to deal with racism? Are you going to deal with, no, they were so nice to us, especially the Mormon community because we're Mormon. So it's kind of like, it was no complaints. I love Utah. I'm like small town Utah girl. This is all I know kind of thing. So I love it. I have no complaints. And there's more people of color now. Like I would say probably almost the same level as white people here. So like Utah's changed.
Oh, okay. Nice. So definitely letting us know, you know, because I still have like that old, you know, mentality of like, you know, it's a white people state, you know, like that's all it is, you know?
Yeah. I mean, what I do love is I love how inclusive it became for real. Like I love seeing people of different cultures, different ethnicities, different races mix. And I love seeing that inclusivity, that welcoming. The way they welcomed us is the way they're welcoming everyone else. So I love that. But what I don't love is how this is not based on a race or anything, but it's just that crime rates are growing, all that. Like back then we used to play all the time outside. We were barely at home. But now kids can't even do that because you always hear, oh, this person got kidnapped, this person got lost, this person got stolen, this person got killed. And it's kind of like, we weren't used to hearing stuff like that. So I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't looked into it, but it's interesting to note, you know, but besides that, you know, I wanted to kind of jump in and, you know, first and foremost, I think one of the most interesting things about you, you know, was obviously, you know, your background. Where your family's from, I've actually never even heard of that area, right? So you know, I think I've never even seen that flag, so I kind of tripped out. But it was it's Equatorial Guinea, right? And but you say it's a little different in Spanish.
Yeah, the real name is La República de Guinea Ecuatorial, which translates to the Republic of Equatorial Guinea in Central Africa. Yeah.
And what's kind of interesting about that is it's a Spanish speaking area in the middle of Africa.
Yeah. A lot of people just are not aware whatsoever that like there's Hispanics in Africa. Yeah. Like a lot of people, when they think of the word Hispanic or whatever, they just think of, South Americans, Central Americans. And it's like, they tend to exclude us, Spain and the Philippines. And it's just kind of like, no, stop that. Like, it's kind of like a lot of people just in general, especially in America, they don't know about us. So they automatically assume they're like, oh, so you're half Latina. And it's kind of like, I'm not Latina, but I'm Hispanic. Two different things.
Right. What's the difference between that? Because I did notice that on one of your social media, right? When people say, Hispanic versus Latina, what's the difference?
The difference is Latino is basically someone that's from a Spanish speaking country in South and Central America. Mm-hmm. Whereas Spanish is someone from Spain, obviously. Latin is someone that speaks a Latin language. So that includes countries like, especially countries like Italy and like France and Angola, like countries that speak a Latin language or have Latin culture. And Hispanic is any country, doesn't matter where in the world is located, that has Spanish as a primary language.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I think some people are super picky about that. And I mean, if that's a thing, I get it, but like a lot of, people that I know in LA, they do the whole like, well, no, I'm not Latino. I'm not Hispanic. I'm Mexican. It's like, okay. I'm like whatever you say.
Do they speak Spanish in Mexico? Yeah, then you're a Hispanic. But Hispanic is not a race. People forget that like the real Hispanics are people from Spain. And the rest of us, like the Native Americans from South and Central America, the Asians from Philippines, and the Africans from my country, we're all Latin because we were colonized by Spain. So it's kind of like people forget that. So they try to take away Spain's identity or whatever and just all of our identities and just place it as, oh, that's just a Latino thing. When it's like, they're not the same thing. And like, you could be both. Like if you're Latino, you are Latino and Hispanic, but Brazilians aren't Hispanics, but they are Latinos. So it's kind of like, because they don't speak Spanish in Brazil, but a lot of people make it into a race.
So we mentioned the different types of, Hispanic and Latino people. I'm just curious, like, what have people confused you with in the past?
Oof, what haven't they confused me with in the past is a real question. Brazilian, Dominican, Cuban, Puerto Rican, Colombian, Venezuelan, half Spanish, Indian, half Korean, Middle Eastern. Egyptian is the only one they somewhat got right, but like African American, like they confuse me for everything, but they can never guess like Central African. They're just like, but the stupid, you don't look African, because we all look alike, right?
Right, yeah. But you're the tribe that you come from, right? Do they have like kind of a distinct look to them? I notice a lot of their art is very unique, so I wonder if that has to do with like, certain features that maybe are unique to the tribe or whatnot.
Yeah, the Fang tribe, at least the ancient Fang tribe, we come from, the Bantu, we come from Egypt, southern Egypt. That's where my ancestors particularly came from. So from what I noticed about the Fang tribe is that we tend to look very Afro-Latino, kind of like mixed. So it's a lot of people, like they used to, like, especially in my country, there's different tribes in my country, but Fang is the biggest one. They would always say like, you guys aren't even African though. So why are you guys located in Africa? Like the other African countries say that to us. I'm just like, excuse me, there's literally white countries in Africa. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
So like our features are pretty distinct. I would say just like any other tribe has, like the Mayan tribe has their own distinct features, and then the Aztec tribe. So just that, I mean, just from what I know is that we typically look very Afro-Latino.
Yeah. And that probably has, I think, something to do with the success that you've seen in pageants, right? They probably see someone like you in a pageant, and you're like, wow, we haven't seen anybody look like this. And when you have a unique look, I would assume, that would be, either a plus or a negative, because it depends on how you look at it. Right. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the world of pageants, because I've never spoken to anybody about pageants. I've never actually known someone who's gone through that. Right. First and foremost, how did you get into pageants, and at what age?
that's funny because I'm actually new at pageants.
Really?
Like the first one I did was last year. It was Miss Africa Utah.
Huh.
And I saw it online. I mean, when I was like 13, but you have to be at least 18. And now I'm like 23. So of course I'm, old enough to do it. So
Mhm.
last year when I did it, it was very interesting because we didn't do the traditional pageant style like on stage because of COVID. So we had
Mm.
to do it online, like kind of like a reality show kind of thing. And it was fun. I liked it.
Mm.
Like it was. I didn't win. I won 3 awards, but I didn't win the actual title as Miss Africa.
I
But it
see.
was it was really fun. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you didn't do the whole traditional grow up when you're like 6 years old doing the whole thing.
No, my mom was very, very, very cool about us doing what we wanted to. Like I've always been a musician since I was like 2. So
Hmm.
it's like she's like, that's what you want to do, start writing music. But then I got into pageants for like more exposure and also because I wanted to see what it was like to do a
Hmm.
pageant. And it was fun. Like local people got to know more about my country, and a lot of people were just shocked. Because at least I got a few comments like people that were being rude and they were just like, but she's not even African. Like, isn't she white or like whatever? So why is she doing representing an African country? Like, just really stupid comments. But I kind of
Hmm.
pushed through and I just did it anyways. I was just like, well, I'm here and you're not. So that's my
Right.
period.
And and that was comments from the other competitors?
No, the other competitors were sweethearts. I'm still
Oh, okay.
friends with them until they say Miss Rwanda who won, Miss Kenya, second runner up. I'm still friends with a lot of them, but
Okay.
it's more or less the public that
I
were
see.
saying a lot of that stuff. Yeah,
The people watching the pageant and commenting like they always do, a bunch of haters online, grown folk that
yeah.
have nothing better to do but talk shit, right?
It's just funny because when you look at the other contestants, their audience is just like, yeah, yeah. But then when it comes to mine, obviously my family was supportive, my friends, but like other people were just like, but I thought this was an African pageant. Why is she here? Like, I was just like, screw
Mhm.
you. There's no one way of looking African, okay, or behaving like an African, like quote unquote. And it's just like ignorance.
That's so, I mean, that's really so interesting, right? Just because, again, it might come back down to that unique look, right?
Yeah,
Where, you look a certain way, but I mean, yes, you're rooted in, Africa,
yeah,
that's where your family's from. I'm sure, some of the other contestants weren't, maybe even directly born in the country that they're representing, right?
exactly. A lot of them weren't. I mean, there was a few that unfortunately dropped out because of COVID that were born here, like not in Utah, but like I think Miss Nigeria was from California,
Mm-hmm.
and then Miss Egypt was from Maryland. And then
Oh,
it's like a lot of them weren't born there. So I find it kind of weird. Like you don't have to be born there to represent what you are, because that's ultimately what you are. So it's kind
mm-hmm.
of like my mom always told me since I was a little girl, my whole family, and she would tell us, my siblings and I, that it doesn't matter where you're born. Mainly what matters is where you're from. Because you could be
Right.
born in Japan or whatever, but your origin is never going to change.
Mm-hmm. That's
So
true. Yeah.
yeah, I grew up, for me, I didn't start saying I'm from Utah until recently. But like
Mm-hmm.
all my childhood years and up until now, like even now, if you ask me, where are you from? Guinea Equatorial. But if you say, where were you born? Utah.
Okay. Yeah, there's
That's
two
how we were
different
raised.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's always a funny conversation though, because people don't want to, I don't know why they can't just wrap their heads around things like that. Like, identify how you want to identify, because I remember, I used to, tell people, I'm American, and people are like, no, but you're Mexican. It's like, no, I get you. My family's, from Mexico. It's just what I know, everything I've grown up with is American. I didn't really
Yeah.
start. I mean, I knew Spanish, because my mom spoke
Mhm.
it, and
Yeah.
everybody spoke it, but I was always uncomfortable speaking it because I had a very, how we say, very pocho accent. It's like you could tell you don't know the language,
Yeah.
right? And so I never felt comfortable speaking it, and I didn't really learn it as much till I became older and I started working with kids, and I would have to speak to their parents, and I didn't want to sound dumb,
Yeah.
so I'm like, okay, I need to really brush up my Spanish. you know.
Yeah.
But to me, if you were to tell me like, hey, you're Mexican, I'm like, yeah, I guess whatever you want to say, Mexican American, that's fine, But to me, I was always like, okay, first and foremost, I'm American because, whatever, first generation American, call me whatever you want, because that's what I grew up with. I spoke English, and now though it's kind of like I want to know a little more about my background and everything, because after this whole last 4 years or so, and I hate to make it political, but the people that and it's not even about color or anything, it's just about being American,
Exactly.
those people don't want you at the party. A lot of
They
them,
don't. They don't, and people forget that you're the real American, because don't forget, people forget just because, okay, you guys speak Spanish, but don't forget that the countries that are also in South and Central America, they speak Spanish, but they're still predominantly Native American countries. Mm-hmm. So like, it's kind of like you took, not to make it political, like you said, but it's like you took the land from them and then you want to isolate them in their own territory. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of, that's why I don't like racism. I don't like oppression. I don't like segregation. I don't like any of that stuff, especially when it comes to the Native American people. That's why my sister and I were like huge Native American rights activists. And that also applies to, countries like Mexico and El Salvador and all of that stuff. So it's kind of like, you can't do that. It's like if let's say, English person dominates over, let's pretend Africa is a country. I know a lot of people want to act like it is. So let's pretend Africa is a country. It's like if they dominate over Africa. And let's say someone if they dominate Nigeria, right? Let's say someone from, what a country is in Nigeria, like Cameroon wants to go move to Nigeria. And then that English person is like, you can't be here. It's not your country. It's mine. And it's just like, are you dumb or are you dumb? Like, it's like, that's not your place. That's not your, like, right. Oh, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just, that just annoys me, especially the way that the Latino people are being treated here. I'm like, it's their territory. So, I mean, that just annoys me. Even if it wasn't, that's not how you treat a human being. That's not how you do that.
Yeah, but it's really been a lot like that. If you speak Spanish, if you're Hispanic, whatever, your background is Latino, Hispanic, whatever, it's been a lot of like, well, no, you don't belong here. Even people that have lived here all their lives, you get people telling them like, go back to your country. It's like, motherfucker, I was born here, like I've lived here all my life. So it's kind of a trip those last 4 years. So yeah, I mean, it kind of makes you want to like, really embrace more, your heritage when it's like your own damn country doesn't want you here.
I mean, that's why I've always loved, like, I'm so proud that my mom is the way she is, because like, they went from my country to Spain to here. Mm-hmm. And I was the only one born here, but it's like, okay, she would always tell us that, because you know how a lot of Hispanic parents come here and they're just like, I don't want our kids to speak Spanish, just English.
All right, so right.
My mom was the opposite. She was just like, I don't care where you were born. You're going to speak your language. You're going to speak Spanish, especially at home. We weren't even allowed to speak English. So It's one of those things that I had like a translator. I remember when I was like in first grade, kindergarten kind of thing, because I didn't understand much. But starting from like second or third grade is when I got more used to it, like the English language. So it's kind of like she instilled in us at a very young age what it means to be proud of your heritage, despite all odds. So like, especially growing up in the 2000s when it was people were very open about that kind of thing. It's kind of like, that never made me ashamed of my roots, like the African and Hispanic side. So I would always walk around and being how proud I was of it, and like speaking Spanish and like representing, like, but I know there's a lot of people that didn't have that same luck. Because they would be like, no, but I'm gonna be shunned or I'm gonna be excluded, so I have to be more American, whatever that means. So I just feel lucky that my mom was as strong-headed as she is, and she raised us like that. So
for sure, gotta have some sort of identity. Now, moving on, I wanted to really kind of delve into what you're, I don't know if you're starting it, because you said you've been into it since you were a kid, but it seems like you're starting a musical career, right? Like that's kind of
Mhm.
still a new thing
Yeah.
for you, right?
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned like, being into music for a very long time. What's your earliest memories of being a musician?
When I was like 5 years old or around there, performing, because my family used to have this family band called,
Mhm.
well, we perform traditional music. It's kind of like, it was called Las Brinchis back in the day, but that was before I was born. So when they came to Utah, they continued. They were really popular here. They changed the name to Ispafri, which is a mixture of Hispanic and African, the word. So
Mhm.
it's like Ispafri. That's how we used to perform. And then I was born into it. They put me in the group. That's when I used to perform. And that's when I was like, oh, this is pretty fun. But, it's just a family thing. Like, I didn't see it as,
Mhm.
oh, you're performing in front of a lot of people. So it's just like, whatever. But I didn't want to become a singer until I saw Hannah Montana. Like,
Really?
if I meet Miley Cyrus, I'm gonna give her the biggest hug because she's the one I made solidified it for me that I want to be an entertainer.
Uh-huh.
And of course, people like Shakira, Selena Quintanilla, Britney Spears,
Mhm.
I like my favorite singers. And then when I was 12, I started performing covers like as a
Mhm.
soloist. But I would like take Korean music and Japanese music and like rewrite it in Spanish or in English and perform it. And I would also perform Shakira all the time, like
You,
all
you,
the time.
you do kind of got her hairstyle going on right there.
Oh, really? A lot of people tell me I look like the dark version of Shakira, and I'm not gonna say no. I'm not
Uh-huh.
gonna say no.
That's a compliment, right?
That's why I'm not gonna say no. So,
Yeah.
but I would perform her all the time, and from there I started like I stopped for a time because that's when I got into like modeling, like when I was like 20,
Okay.
and acting as well. But then I didn't start making my own music until last year. Was
Hmm.
when I released Fruit Punch, my first song. But it's really cute and like bubbly and like K-pop inspired
Yeah,
song.
it is unique. I was gonna ask about that, right? I mean, you call it like bubblegum pop, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of like the genre.
Kind of like think Britney Spears, late 90s, early 2000s, kind of like girl pop, very cute and youthful kind of sound.
Mhm.
But that's when I released that. But then I guess the ones that are doing the best right now are the ones that I've released about a certain person, which is called You're So Annoying, and his name is Jay. And
Mhm.
It's Just Lo Que Quieres, which is one of more recent ones. I'm still releasing an EP, so
Mhm. Yeah, I listen to all of them, right? And if I can give you my opinion, right?
yes,
I think what really works for you, and granted, I'm not, anybody in the music industry. Like, I mean, I play music, I love music, but I think what works really best for you, what I've heard so far, is your Spanish song, right?
yeah,
Eso es lo que quieres. Is that what it's called?
yeah,
Yeah, I was like, whoa, that's kind of, it sounds like it's like ready for radio. I'm not to say that the other ones aren't, but
yeah,
you mentioned, like the Fruit Punch song, right? It's catchy. It's very catchy, but to me, it has a very like, and I hope you won't take offense to this, but like I think like a limited appeal, right?
yeah,
Because it is very like, sugary, very like, and I think there's a lot of people that are music snobs are gonna be like, well, I'm not gonna listen to that. There's no
for sure.
substance to it, you
Yeah,
know, and it will get stuck in your head, I think, but yeah, I think there'll be some music purists that'll be like, oh, that's too, pop for
definitely,
me. But I think
definitely.
yeah, I think your Spanish song, I mean, to me it sounded like you really kind of got into it,
Oh,
you
thank you so much.
right? Did you like, what was the process of making that song, or all those songs even?
Whew. Oh no, no, that song and You're So Annoying. Like it definitely had a meaning, but I think Esas Lo Que Quieres was even more meaningful for me because like of the person it was about. They're both about the same person, but I feel like You're So Annoying was more like, just teasing, kind of like, oh, you're annoying. Like, don't you realize how
Hmm.
annoying you are? But I said, okay, get it. The lyrics are a lot deeper and mean. I didn't realize
Hmm.
how mean it was until I translated the lyrics on Google. And I was like, oh, did I really just call you a slimy bastard? Oh, oops.
Yeah, what is it? You're good. I'm like, because I was gonna ask you, like, I wonder, since you did the Google Translate, I wonder what culi cagao translates to.
Culi cagao is actually Colombian slang.
I know that. Yeah, I've heard. I was gonna say, I've heard that from Colombian people. You know, and when I heard it on your song, I'm like, whoa! I'm like, I didn't know anybody else used that.
No one actually. My family's so weird that we're all the same. All Hispanic countries are the same for my family. So we're just like, my mom uses the term mosquita muerta from Mexico. I use culi cagao. It's like we just take from different parts, and it's kind of funny. Culi cagao is actually an overgrown, like a man or an adult that acts like a child.
Right.
So, and he was very much like that. So, like, the inspiration behind that song was because I was in this emotionally abusive relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
His name is out there. His name is Jason. His name's out there in the song. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of not like, I didn't think it was an abusive relationship at first, just because, he never called me names. He never like did any of those things to me. But just the fact that he was like playing games with my emotions for the longest time, and like just like being very controlling, and like so basically you don't want me, or you don't want to have me, but I'm not allowed to be with anyone else that's actually going to respect me, kind of thing. And it's also like to the point where he would like twist everything around and made it seem like I'm crazy. I just imagined everything. I was like, it is got to even like denying the fact that we were even together. That was really broke apart. And the part where I say, así que eres tus chicas bonitas y latinas, pero se olvidó que soy afro-hispana de Guinea, was because when he first met me, as everyone, he thought I was Latina. And he's Mexican, right? So he has a thing for, Latina girls. So that, and I'm not. To a point, maybe, but it's kind of just like, I don't identify that. I identify as Hispanic. So it's kind of like, you want your own women, but then why are you with me? Like, and you would not be hard. You don't hide it. The fact that you prefer Latina women. So it's kind of like, then why are you with me and making me believe something else? So it's kind of like, that really got me into a huge identity crisis at some point between both of my cultures.
Wow.
And it made me like, to a point, almost loathe my African side. So I would only identify as Hispanic. I would only like, I would even like just go as Latina. People would call me that and I wouldn't correct them. Yeah. Because that, what he would say would get into my head so badly until, that only lasted like a day. I talked to my mom about it. So.
Yeah. As far as the whole abusive relationship thing, that kind of resonates with, I think, a lot of people, because not enough people talk about that. I used to see a lot of young girls. I've worked with a lot of girls, as a supervisor, and to me as a supervisor, it's never my business to get into their business, But I hear them talk to each other about like, oh, I'm breaking up with this guy, I'm back with this guy, I'm breaking up with this guy, and I'm thinking in my head, just like, why are you putting yourself through that?
Yeah.
Like you hear a lot of young girls in their early 20s where it's like they're just allowing themselves to be like manipulated, to be, pushed around by a bunch of, chumps that are, not even worth that,
Yeah, that's so true.
And it's such a big thing right now. I don't know if it's a lack of confidence or they don't think they can get anybody else, but it's kind of disgusting to see. Anytime I see a guy that's manipulative like that, I kind of just want to punch him in the face, because it's like, that's not how you treat people,
Exactly. I think for a lot of girls and guys that go through like abusive relationship, I think it's just, for the most part, as I know some do have like, they don't have that much confidence, but I think for others, like in my case, it was the fact that I'm the type that I just give my like everything to that person. And I kind of expect that person to take care of my heart instead of me doing it myself. Right. So it's kind of just like, when that person breaks it, I don't know what to do to fix it, because I gave it to that person. So everything that I have or how I feel is basically, how would I say it? Como todo lo que siento básicamente es a través de esa persona. Si dicen que soy mala, así es como me siento. Si dicen que soy fea, así es como me siento. Yo no
Uh-huh.
puedo, como, es como si, por ejemplo, si puedo encontrar una forma para coger mi corazón y regresarlo otra vez, así
Mhm.
lo puedo hacer, así puedo manejar mi vida bien. Pero cuando estoy en una relación así, adiós. No, I forget everything. I forget everything. Like you're the only thing that matters to me, and that's not smart. That's not smart. So I'm just learning now how to like get
and
my meet myself again, if that makes sense.
and it's interesting because you're aware of it. You're cognizant of the fact that you let yourself get that way. So,
Yeah.
it's very interesting, and I don't know what goes through the mind of people, in abusive relationships like that. So it's kind of interesting to get that take. But moving on to the music part, right? Um, I talked about your different types of songs. You are you going for a certain style, or are you trying to stay as eclectic and diverse as possible when recording?
I'm not going for a certain style at all. At the point where I think I've entered my own genre. Well, my sister calls it rev pop, like revolutionary pop, rebellious pop. She gave me the name because my style is like very. I try to take influences from my cultures, but I'd also add my favorite genre, which is bubblegum. So it's kind of like a mixture of African, Latin, and bubblegum.
Mm,
So it's kind of like I don't like mainstream that much. Like nothing wrong with it, just I don't follow mainstream. So
mhm.
if something is trending, I'm not gonna do it just because someone else, because everyone else is doing it, so I don't want to do it.
Right.
So like a lot of people have told me you should make more, uh hip hop, or you should make more, like hardcore reggaeton. And it's kind of like I believe in doing what you like. It doesn't have to
Mhm,
make sense to people. Just like
mhm,
perplexed, yeah, it's too sugary sweet for the audience here. But hey, in Korea, where they like that
mhm.
kind of music, they'll appreciate it more. So I don't look
Right.
at it in as a way that I want to sell. I look at it as a way that what genre do I want to do, or what style do I want to do, like at the time.
Mhm.
That's why
Yeah,
all three songs sound completely different.
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, man, you should really go for like that, like that reggaeton style, because that's what's big right now. That's
Yeah,
Bad Bunny and all these people are at the
definitely.
top of the chart.
Rosalia. Mhm.
Yeah. If you look at the top musicians, other than like hip hop acts, even they're all it's all like Spanish music, and
Yeah,
even then they're starting to integrate some of the hip hop and typical U.S. pop right into that
mhm,
style. So
exactly.
but no, you're right. You have to stay true to what you want to do, and if there's somebody who likes it and enjoys it, why not keep making it? Yeah, it's a good way to look at it.
That's a huge part of like the movement that I created or was trying to create called Revolutionary Gal slash Guy.
Mhm.
Like the inspiration came from the community in Japan that was very prevalent back in the late 90s, early 2000s, especially called the Gyaru movement or the
Mhm.
Gyaru for the guys. It's basically like, how, from what I know in Japan, the beauty center was always to be more, black hair, pale skin, no
Mhm.
makeup, like traditional. But this community kind of was like, we don't want to follow that. Like we have our own way of thinking. So we want to break free from that. So if the standard was to have black hair, they went blonde. If the standard was
Mhm.
to be pale, they got dark. If it
Mhm.
was to wear what's the word, modest clothes, they went revealing. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like they went against societal standards, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do too. Like I don't like beauty standards. I don't like what's considered societal norms, even though like it's fine if you do, but it's just like not everyone thinks like that, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
like there's alternative people, like there's people that like, they want to go in a pageant with freaking mohawk. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. You
Uh-huh.
see, I'm anti-stereotypes. So it's kind of just like you don't have to fit in, and that's completely fine. That's what I
Mhm.
try to do with my music. Like a lot of people don't understand it, but it's kind of like I'm not gonna conform just because this was expected of me. Like if I'm gonna make it, then it's gonna
Mhm.
be because I was always myself. And
Okay.
other girls and guys can relate to that.
Nice. Yeah, yeah, definitely a good way to look at it there. What are you working on more songs right now? I know like COVID has really thrown the music industry into a whole, different kind of world right now where a lot of people are on pause, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
There's no performances and stuff like that. People aren't making as much music, I think. But what are you working on right now musically?
sorry, I'm actually releasing an EP soon, hopefully sometime next month. It's called La Chica Ya Llegó, or like She Has Arrived. So I just need to put, basically I'm working on 2 more songs and they're going to be on the album as well. So I'm going to have it on Spotify. Right now I have just my music on SoundCloud, but I'm going to open a Spotify and I'm going to open a iTunes and Apple Music. Just, I'm going to try to put it everywhere. So you guys can like listen to it through there.
Yeah. And that's going to include your current 3 songs plus a couple more.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Nice.
I just get impatient, so I couldn't wait to release the other 3 songs. I'm going to release it right now.
I know, okay, so I gathered that you have a hand in obviously writing the lyrics and whatnot, but do you have a hand in producing the music or putting together, some of the background music?
No, actually. I have a friend whose name is Dolan. He's also a musician. Great guy. He kind of helps me like make my music, like the beats, and he just tells me send me an acapella of your song and I'll work around it. And he just says, send me a few reference tracks. So it's kind of like I send, like Fruit Punch was heavily inspired by like kind of like the melody by Yes or Yes by the Korean group Twice. So then he's amazing because he doesn't specialize in the kind of music that I make, but he works around it. So he's like, I'll try my best, and it comes out perfectly. In terms of actually recording, I go to SOS Recordings, and they help. Like they're very nice. Like they're not very like typical where we're gonna do it like this because it's our studio, so we're gonna do it like this, whether you like it or not. They're like, we're gonna work on it until you tell us how you like it.
Nice.
So
very nice.
Yeah. But the lyrics, I write everything myself.
That's good. I mean, you have that kind of control over it. It's more, it's more your thing. I love singing and I love karaoke and stuff like that. I make, the songs my own, but it's never the same as when you write your own lyrics. And and it's very tough too, because I like I mentioned, I do a little bit of music, but the hardest part for me was always writing lyrics. Because it's a very personal thing. And I'm a very private person, and so I don't like to, let people into my brain as far as my lyrics go and whatnot. So, but
that's actually really interesting because I know, like Beyonce, for example, she's the same way. She was like a very, very private, doesn't like anyone inside, and typically I would say that that's better. That way you're protecting your heart. But I feel like, especially as a musician, because I am so open about my experiences and so open through my lyrics about everything, that ultimately I feel like that openness can help people, which is why I do it.
Right. Yeah. Now, what's your overall goal with the music? You want to go like do live shows? I mean, is this your career path? Is this what you want to do?
Definitely. Like I used to perform at festivals and all that stuff, but I've only performed one of my songs once, and that was Fruit Punch live. But I'm trying to, now that I have my own music, get more venues to where I can perform. But with COVID,
yeah.
And I want to be a singer. That's just an entertainer. That's just what I want to be. So
okay. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, well, after all this is over, we see you over here in Hollywood or something on the Sunset Strip doing some shows,
I hope. Cross my heart. I'm gonna work with Shakira. I'm putting that out there, putting that affirmation out there.
Yeah, make it happen, right? You say it enough, it'll happen.
Yeah.
Now, I think from what I've seen, you're pretty much, at the point where you're ready. You're almost like a full package, ready to get out there, right? Ready to start promoting. I mean, you do a lot of really, I mean, you've been doing, I follow you on Instagram. You've been doing a lot of interesting like photo shoots and stuff like that, right? Is that apart from, your musical persona, or is it a part of it? Like, is it just like more like a modeling type thing, or does it play into who you are as an artist?
For the most part, it's just like modeling kind of thing. But with my most recent shoot with like the giant lollipops and all that stuff, that's actually part of the some of it's gonna be that's actually gonna be for my next album EP called Crazy Little Love Story. But I try to be as versatile as possible. So like with my shoots, you will notice that sometimes I go like very, very sensual, then I go very young and sweet and innocent. So I try to be as versatile as possible because my personality is very I don't think people should think that they should have an image in terms of like what people want you to see from you. I feel like your image should be you. And sometimes, yeah, my brain goes, I want to be like freaking Marilyn Monroe. Then next day, I want to be like IU. It's kind of like I'm a very fickle person too. So I feel like there's a lot of people that can resonate with that. So I try to make it as me as possible, every aspect of my career.
Now, as far as like promoting and everything goes, you're at I believe almost like at the beginning stages, right? Have you done many interviews or podcasts or anything like that recently, or I mean, is one of your first, or where are we on that stage?
I've done a few recently, but it's like I'm terrible at promoting everything. Like I'm not like I'm just gonna go perform. I'm very old school. It's kind of like how a lot of people use social media to promote what they're doing. I don't do that. Like my music, I just hear it on SoundCloud, go listen to it. Next. It's like I'm very terrible at promoting, especially on social media. So hopefully more podcasts and like interviews would come along. Yeah. But I know I have to put in the work, but it's kind of like,
I mean, it's tough because like I hate social media, I grew up where MySpace was the big thing,
right.
And to me that was fun, but everybody kind of killed it once he started, doing all the different ones, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm like, just put it all in one, like MySpace used to,
Exactly.
But it's really it's a job, to promote yourself online. It really is like you have to put in effort. And with the podcast, I kind of my biggest thing is like, yes, we have an audience, we actually have listeners in Africa, which is interesting. I share the map on Instagram and there's a few areas highlighted in Africa, which I was really surprised to see. But I'm not trying. Yeah, and hopefully after this interview, we'll see it highlighted a little more. But
that's awesome though.
Yeah. But my thing isn't that I don't want to make this a full-time thing. I do the podcast for fun and to expose a lot of different things that I don't know about. Like I mentioned, the music industry, the pageants, even just your background, stuff like that. A lot of people don't know about those things. And so if I don't know about them, I figure, there's got to be a lot of people out there who would find it interesting as well, because we've done a lot of different topics, mental health, what do you call it? Steroids. We did an episode on steroids, even surviving trauma and abuse. So it's a wide range of things. Right. But, it's something, yes, I find joy in it, but I'm not going to be Joe Rogan, so it's like, I'm not going to do this as a full-time career, but even just trying to keep it like at the level where, it's somewhat, successful. I want to use that term successful very lightly. It's tough to do. I remember how hard it was to even just get 1,000 followers. I was like, damn, like this is work,
Yeah.
And I don't go on there heavily and do like live videos. I maybe post once a week, but there are people that are doing it, hours per day. Right. And those are the ones that really get the 10,000 followers or whatnot. They get a lot of eyeballs on what they're doing. I know you said you're not very big on it, but if you're trying to expand, your outreach, how do you plan on managing that? Is that something you're going to do, or are you going to have to hire somebody for that? Or what do you think about that?
I feel like I tend to like want to take a lot of creative control over everything. So like, I don't think I'll be able to, at least anytime soon, have someone manage what I post and all of that. So just to promote. And it's kind of like, it's funny because I know that this is going to sound really bad, and I don't mean it to sound bad at all, but I feel like unless I'm some sort of stereotype or like what's trendy right now, then it's going to be much harder because I'm not trying to promote myself as a what's it called? So it's kind of like I gave up on that because of that reason. Just because I would have to change everything in order to capture more people, and I don't want to do that. So it's like if I stay with like 30 likes on Instagram, people not barely like showing me any support there, then that's fine. I don't care. But I'm not gonna conform to something that I don't believe in or something that I don't como algo que no soy yo. No voy a conformar con algo así solamente porque quiero seguidores o quiero ser famosa en Instagram y todo eso. Entonces, si no me quieren soportar, pues ahí está. It's fine with me.
So, real quick, I do want to chime in and say, I know you're cutting in with a lot of Spanish. I'm gonna leave it as is. No, it's good because there's a lot of people that listen and they speak Spanish. But for those of you that don't understand, I'm not going to translate it for you just because there's a lot of the time there's not a clear way to translate expressions and sayings and things like that, right?
Yeah, it's just, at least for me personally, like, yeah, I was born in Utah, but I like to call my English like conversational. Like, for the most part, I can speak and understand fluently, but it's just not really. So you'll see me go in and out, like in Spanish, like what I want to say doesn't come out in English. Got to know how to say it. Or like if you ask me something and what I say has nothing to do with what you asked, that's because I can't really, understand. But I don't want to sound dumb and be like, what?
No, I do it all the time. It's all right, Bill. Huh? Like maybe after four times, I'll be like, oh yeah,
Yeah, for real.
But no, that's fine with me. Well, yeah, but for the people listening and you don't understand, I'm sorry. Go learn Spanish.
Go learn. We have to learn English, so you need to learn Spanish now.
Right. But yeah, I mean, as far as your music career goes, I think like I mentioned, it seems right now you're at a point where, like I said, it's like a full package. Like you've already started packing the things in. Now you're ready to send this package out and start getting some listeners, start getting some eyeballs on what you're doing. Is that how it feels right now? You're kind of like on the verge of something bigger?
Definitely. Like it's something different when it's actually your music. So now I feel like I'm my own brand now. Like I feel like now it's serious because I already took the first step and started releasing music. So now I have to push further to get it out there and to like promote it more because it's not promoting a cover, So it definitely feels like now things are getting real, which is kind of intimidating, but I like it. Just the fact that I'm working at something. My mom always raised me to be a hard worker. Like don't expect anything easy. The harder it is, the more worth it will be in the end. So you have days, of course, where you're just like, why is it not like getting through? Like, why is it not being like, like, see, I have no idea how to say it. Like, for example, ¿por qué la gente no lo están escuchando? ¿Por qué la gente no están apoyando más y todo eso? Por eso, pero tienes que recordar que todo lo que vale la pena viene lentamente.
There you go.
So
yeah,
that's why I'm just patient right now and leaving with my God. So
yeah, I mean, so hopefully we'll see some more out of you as far as the music career goes. Are there any other things that you're working on as far as, because if I can take one thing away from this interview is that you are determined to be famous for something, right?
I mean, not really famous because I don't care about like fame or money or anything like that. It's just, I want to be able to touch people's hearts with like what I'm going through and what they're going through, like be able to help them and be able to help people be unapologetically themselves. That's ultimately my goal.
Let me restate that then. You're looking to, when I say famous, this is what I mean, is that you're looking to have a higher platform of some sort to affect, more people. So in terms of fame, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I just want to show people that it's okay to, because like I talk a lot. I'm so sorry. Because I had a time, especially growing up when I was little, that people would tell me that you're not African enough, you're not Hispanic enough. Like I was supposed to choose like a side or something. So like I couldn't be myself. I had to be either stereotypically African or stereotypically Latin. And it's just kind of like that got to the point my mom talked to me and she's like, you can be proud of being both and be yourself. You don't have to conform to stereotypes just because that's what people want to put you in a box when you're not meant to be put in a box. So there's a lot of people I know that go through different things. Like I know this little girl who messaged me the other day. She's African American, and she was just like, because the alternative culture, like anime and all of that stuff, was considered alternative anyways. is very looked down upon in a lot of like communities, like that are not like in the Black community, like kind of like, oh, now you're trying to be Asian, now you're trying to do this. Why don't you listen to more of this? And she was like, that really bothered her, that she had to put on a face, like just pretend to be what people expected her to be, just because she was Black, you know. And I don't like that. I feel like if you're Black and you like anime, awesome. If you're Latino and you like African music, that is perfect, you know. So I want people to realize that it's okay to be yourself. Like, you don't have to be some kind of mold, or you don't have to be put in a box. Like, it's fine to be weird and just be yourself at all times. That's what I want to help promote to people.
Okay. But any other projects you got going on? Like, you got the, you know, modeling, you got the music, pageants, anything else that you got going on? You have your, I think you already spoke about it, right? It was like a group, a nonprofit or something like that.
Yeah, Revolutionary Gal / guy. Yeah, my movement. It's basically what I was saying, just barely, just helping people be themselves. And yeah, that I'm trying to, like, I'm in the process right now of opening a website for it, where I'm going to have like a lot of information. So I'm going to try to do videos where people send me questions, or like if they need advice, and I can just help them, you know, and speak to them. And I have an Instagram page, but it's not active right now because I'm trying to revamp it, Revolutionary Gal. So, but if whoever wants to, you know, follow this journey with me, I would appreciate it. My Instagram, Nini My Nemo. So that's where I post more frequently.
And that's for Revolutionary Gal, right?
For now. Because like I said, the actual Revolutionary Gal page is under, like, you know, I'm trying to revamp it, so it's not open right now. Like, it's open, but it's private.
Got you. Yeah. Okay. All right. I mean, are you? I think you mentioned a little bit of acting. Are you working on acting too as well, or is that something that's kind of in your back pocket, or what are you doing with that?
Yeah, acting. I was more active in acting when I was like back in like 2018, but then I got busy with different things. So, but actually, like, I'm booked for an Amazon Prime series that we're going to start shooting this summer, but I can't say what it is.
Well, good. So that means it's a good thing. It's a big deal.
Yes, and hopefully, if Corona allows us, then everything will be, you know, somewhat back to normal. So,
cool. So, I mean, you've got a lot going on. You know, you're definitely an super interesting person. You know, and I think, you know, as everything picks up as far as your music career, your nonprofit, your acting, everything. You know, I hope more people kind of, you know, check out what you're doing. You know, I think. I mean, I was kind of blown away that you're so young. You have such a good head on your shoulders. I was like, you know, a lot of time I interview young people, I'm like, they're not gonna be able to, you know, really kind of go into detail about what they're thinking.
Yeah.
You know, I've had that where people are like, you know, your age, and their answers are so short and they don't really know what they're saying, but you seem to know, you know, what direction you want to go. You seem to, you know, have a good understanding of everything you're talking about, whether or not you feel you do well with English or not, which, by the way, you did very well, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I was really blown away with, you know, how you have a good handle on everything you talk about. So, I mean, that's a plus for you, because the further down, you know, you do more and more interviews, podcasts, whatever, you know, that's going to be helpful, you know, as a host, you know. I'm not a super pro or anything like that, but that was helpful because, you know, I don't have to kind of scramble and be like, let me ask this question, because it's good conversation. And I think, like I said, all of your projects start to pick up, I hope more people start to, you know, pay attention and, you know, check out what you're doing.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure speaking to you. And I love how comfortable you made me feel, because you were very, like, you actually cared about what I'm saying. Sure. It shows. Which is so cool, which is awesome. So thank you for allowing me to speak on your show.
Definitely. Anything else you want to throw out there? Any plugs? Any mentions?
My pageant is on July 28th to 31st. If you're in Las Vegas, you know, the Golden Nugget. The pageant is called Miss Regency International 2021. I'm Miss Utah. So I am so excited. The first Black Miss Utah. Hey. And yeah, if you want to support me, if you're in the Vegas area, then yeah.
Oh, it's going to be in person.
Yeah, that's what we're planning right now in person. But I don't know, it might change depending on how everything goes because of the virus. So
I might need an excuse to go to Vegas now.
Yes,
but
come.
yeah, I mean, I haven't been out of the house in about a year by now, but yeah, stupid COVID, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
As far as your music Instagram page, what's your music Instagram page so people can follow you there?
Okay, it's just the same Instagram, that the only one I use, Nini Mo, NiniMainimo. So
right.
There, and also on my bio, I have the SoundCloud link. Whoever wants to listen to my songs right now, I'll open a Spotify very soon with the other remaining songs. Mm-hmm. And I get, like I said, my EP, La Chica Ya Llegó, She Has Arrived, will be out soon, hopefully sometime next month. And yeah, so far that's all. Any information you want to know about, like, keep track of what is going to come next, just on my Instagram. I'm always posting whatever events are happening that I'm going to be at or anything that I'm working on. So
yeah, and you're very active and responsive on there, right? So if people message you, you'll get a message back.
Super responsive. I love talking to people. So whoever wants to talk to me or whatever, just message me. I'm down.
Perfect. All right. So definitely check her out. I'll tag you on Instagram when this comes out in a couple weeks. But I really appreciate it again. Definitely welcome back on whenever you want to promote anything, or just if you have something more you want to say. I've had people return on the show several times, so always welcome. But for everybody listening at home, I appreciate it. Thank you. Fuck you and good night. Subscribe to the Ignorance is Strength podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Like, follow, and share on Facebook and Instagram at Ignorance is Strength Podcast, and on Twitter at The Ignorance Pod.
Conozco a un chico de mamá que se sorprende porque la vida va como le va. Es un bonito romántico, asombroso, encantador y retrasado mental, es lo que diría yo. Es un player de mujeres y abusivo mental, pero cuidado si reaccionas, él se va a quejar. Me gusta cuando vas de rubia con un buen tubao. ¿Qué tú crees? ¿Que me veo así por ti, culi cagao? ¿Eso es lo que quieres? 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 ¿Así es como me 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 quieres? Dime lo que quieres. Dime lo que quieres. Dime lo que quieres. Dime lo que quieres. ¿A quién le importa lo que quieres? ¿A quién le importa lo que quieres? ¿A quién le importa lo que eres? ¿A quién le importa lo que eres? Ay, mi Andresito, la cagaste conmigo. El amor mío ya se convirtió en mi enemigo. Me amabas corazón y me besabas en la luna. La mañana siguiente tus amigos te preguntan: oye, canal, ¿qué tal con corazón? Tú respondes: ella no es ni será mi corazón. Pues, ¿eso es lo que quieres? 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 ¿Así es como me 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 quieres? Dime lo que quieres. Dime lo que quieres. Dime lo que quieres. Dime lo que quieres. ¿A quién le importa lo que quieres? ¿A quién le importa lo que quieres? ¿A quién le importa lo que eres? ¿A quién le importa lo que eres? Así quieres sus chicas bonitas y latinas, pero se olvidó que soy afrohispana de Guinea. Pues ¿cuál es el problema? Pagarte no te cuesta. ¿Para qué voy a cambiarme para hacer lo que te gusta? Yo no soy la bomboncita que querías tener. Pueden lárgate, tú piensas que voy a hacer el qué. Eres abusivo, engreído, muy creído, psicótico, patético, ingenuo, manipulador. Más un tontito alcohólico, un babocito, cabroncito, huevoncito, pendejito, idiota, mi amor. Entonces ojalá aprendiste un poco de mí. Para la próxima que tú vas a querer hacer sufrir, estaré por ti, que no vuelvas a ser una guineana, porque ahí sí, mi amor, ella te va a dejar con nada. ¿Eso es lo que quieres? 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 ¿Así es como me 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 quieres? Dime lo que quieres. Dime lo que quieres. Dime lo que quieres. Dime lo que quieres. ¿A quién le importa lo que quieres? ¿A quién le importa lo que quieres? ¿A quién le importa lo que eres? ¿A quién le importa lo que eres? ¿Eso es lo que quieres? 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 quieres, así es como me 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 quieres. Dime lo que quieres, dime lo que quieres, dime lo que quieres, dime lo que quieres. ¿A quién le importa lo que quieres? ¿A quién le importa lo que quieres? ¿A quién le importa lo que eres? Eres, eres. Song is playing on and on. Heard it twice and now it's my favorite song. Jumping, clapping to the beat. All your worries are leaving so heavily. Oh, I will tell you that I'll be alright. Everything will be alright. Let me tell you that you are doing just fine, just fine. Do not stress about the lies that you are hearing. Do not fret, no, not this time. And just shine, smile, fruit punch, punch, and have some fruit punch, punch, smile, fruit punch, punch, and have some fruit punch. Getting tired, what you know is a good thing. Now we're putting on a show. Before this, I felt despair. Didn't know who I could turn to, and I thought it wasn't fair till I heard this song. Smile, fruit punch, punch, and have some fruit punch, punch, smile, fruit punch, punch, and have some fruit punch. Never heard a song like this before. Always tasty like fruit punch. And I never felt like this before. All this happiness is just too much. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Tell the negative to go away. Someone call the police, someone call the hater. Cause I'm looking for a happy, see you later.